Welcome back. I'm still with the commentator and talk presenter Russell Quirk. Russell, we were just talking about two-tier policing. This incredible news that while not charging anyone for punching the hell out of serving cops, Manchester Police seem to feel it's very important that they launch an investigation into who leaked that video of the attack on the cops. It's not important. And the Manchester Evening News won't tell you, quite rightly. And here's to the person who leaked it, because that's what happens in a free country. People leak information that helps us have a transparent narrative. So screw you, Manchester Police, for this. Absolutely disgraceful. 03444991000. But guess what, Russell? The police, the Met Police, are admitting, pretty much admitting that two-tier policing goes on. There's a report, a brand new report by the think tank called the Policy Exchange, as a result of which the former Met Police Chief Lord Bernard Hogan-Howe says, and this is a quote, "The government must rebalance the legal regime in favour of ordinary members of the public going about their daily lives." What he's talking about are all these demonstrations, these marches that snake through our cities every weekend after the vile massacre and invasion of Israel by Hamas last October the 7th. We're almost coming up to the year anniversary of that. So what he's saying is that the police standing by and letting all these people chant jihad and from the river to the sea, letting them be kind of illegally anti-Semitic, letting them promote and talk of a proscribed terrorist organisation, Hamas. If you're watching the BBC, it is a proscribed terrorist organisation. You ought to call them terrorists. Why you don't may play into a story we'll be doing in a little while, and that is that you're anti-Israel, aren't you? All of you at the biased state broadcast. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the new head of the Police Superintendents Association, a guy called Matt... they reveal that officers are massively frustrated that not all criminals are treated with the same efficiency as the so-called far-right rioters. And Met Assistant Police Commissioner Matt Twist conceded that the cops haven't always been quick enough to make arrests of pro-Palestine jihad chanters. Then, ludicrously, Matt insisted there's no such thing as two-tier or differential policing. You just admitted there is.
Yes, exactly. So Matt Twist, who is actually in charge of public order for the Met, Assistant Commissioner, has said, yes, we have sometimes not been quick enough to act. Well, that easily translates to we just stood idly by and let people break the law without doing anything. Yeah. And we've seen this since... Yeah. You know, October the 8th onwards, haven't we, on the streets of Britain every Saturday. Nick Smart, as you say, who's the head of the Superintendents Association, he's also said that officers are extremely frustrated with the fact that they are effectively told to police one demographic in one way and another demographic in another way.
Which, by the way, folks, that is two-tier policing.
That is exactly that.
Just to give a very good example of it. Remember the riots, you know, Southport, Middlesbrough, all around the country. There were far-right thugs, as Keir kept telling us, launching these riots, which were awful and all that. Then there was one in Birmingham, which was a Muslim riot. Yeah. The Muslims were told that it's possible that the far-right thugs might attack them. So they had their own
vigilantes there.
They had their own riot. A guy was stabbed there, people terrified. The police deliberately stood back and did nothing. Yeah. And then they admitted that they'd talked to what they call our partners, which meant they talked to Muslim community leaders about how best to police that riot. And it was lay off and let us get on with it. So the coppers let the Muslim rioters get on with it, but elsewhere, far-right white rioters were leapt upon like a ton of bricks.
I mean, it's despicable, yes. I remember the narrative being that the police had admitted that they'd backed off from policing those Muslim vigilantes, and they admitted being vigilantes. They said, we're out looking for the far right. They beat somebody up in a pub beer garden, that was on video, because they'd spoken to community leaders and had been reassured that everything would be OK. And then 20 minutes later, we see videos of antisocial behaviour, people with machetes, and, you know, behaviour that was really no dissimilar to that we'd seen from the riots elsewhere that were policed in a very, very different way. The other interesting thing, though, Kev, is Lord Logan Howe, who's the ex-Metropolitan Police Commissioner, has also come out with a bit of criticism, saying he doesn't go quite as far as to say there is two-tier policing, but he says, and we know what he means by this, we need to look at this again.
Yeah. You know, and as he says, he's quite right. I mean, I was never a big fan of Hogan Howe, but he says the government must rebalance the legal regime in favour of ordinary members of the public going about their daily lives. In other words, these great, massive marches, people can't get across the street, they can't drive anywhere. I mean, if they're legal protests, not much you can do about them, but considering most of them are howls of anti-Semitic rage, frankly, anti-Israel protests, then the police should allow ordinary members of the public or should give them priority over these marchers, who many of whom basically break our anti-terrorist laws.
Yeah, and I think when you see protesters like that chap with the sign that says Hamas is terrorist, you can argue, if you like, yeah, but he's antagonising the pro-Palestinian agitators, the protesters that he goes along to kind of protest as a counter-protester against. But the fact is, it's his right to hold that sign in a free country that allows, so far, a little bit of freedom of expression and freedom of speech, you know, to an extent. But he gets arrested every time. He got arrested again this weekend for standing there with a sign that says Hamas is terrorist, which of course is a completely factual statement. Yeah. He gets hauled away, and the police's excuse is, well, he was effectively inciting a potential breach of the peace by standing there holding a sign that says a fact.
Yeah. I want to ask you guys, and ladies of the audience, you know, this is a loaded question, and I make no apologies for it. How dare people like Keir Starmer, people like Sir Mark Rowley, the head of the Met Police, how dare they look us in the eyes and say there is no such thing as two-tier policing? Let me know what you think. Is there two-tier policing? Well, I mean, that's a ridiculous question, because there absolutely, utterly, obviously is. And yet these people say no. Basically, if you're white working class, they'll throw you in jail in 5 days. If you're a Muslim, you know, proceed with impunity. That's what it looks like. There's no doubt about it, the police tread on eggshells when they deal with ethnic communities. They're far more careful with them than they are with the white working class. That